Peoples of the worldwide federated internet. What's good? I try my best not to offer too many opinions on things that I don't really understand or that I don't really have enough data on. I've avoided talking too much about sicknesses that are going on, what happened last year and this year. I'm going to try to avoid mentioning, said issue unless I get my YouTube channel banned. But you know what I'm talking about. The sickness that we've all been dealing with the past year and a half. It'll be going on 2 years now. Ain't that crazy? 2 years of dealing with this. Who knew it would be this long? What has caused it to linger and go on this long? I think a lot of things, a lot of factors are at play. Again, I don't want to be too forward in thinking that I understand more than I do understand, because I'm definitely not going to tell you that I understand this issue in and out and that I understand the human immune system in and out, because I don't understand any of these things in and out and thoroughly. There are doctors that have studied these issues, scientists that have studied these issues, biologists that have studied these issues, and many of those studies are online for you to read through, sift through that data. I kind of want to I have a 30,000 foot view, I guess, so to speak, on everything going on. I have an issue with the way this sickness is feared. And I'm trying to measure my words here. I'm not saying you shouldn't be cautious, and I'm not saying you shouldn't be careful. But at what point does living in complete debilitating fear become counterproductive? And I honestly believe that we've crossed that threshold of being counterproductive. What's amazing is there are things that we can do to mitigate many sicknesses. Now, again, I'm not a doctor, and this is the thing that this is the thing I don't like about social media. Okay, so let me start off with the thing I do like. I do love the fact that you can share information. Some information is good, some information is bad. What I don't like is everyone who has a voice on social media proclaims themselves an expert. And I hope how I come across, or how I try to come across, I'm not an expert. I have opinions. I think about things, and I think we do have a deficit of thought in this day and age. We have a lack of thinkers. People are not thinking about anything. Whatever's told or sold to them, they accept wholeheartedly and they run with it, and that's the end. That's all they're thinking about. They're not really considering anything else. They're not really thinking through the things that they're told. It's just, I'm told this and it is what it is, and that's that. So with this sickness that we've been dealing with and the fear that's been peddled, here's my problem with the fear that's been peddled. We're concentrating so much on the deaths. You have death counters, or you had death counters. And someone brought this up, so this is not a thought that's original to me. I don't ever remember with any other sickness or illness there being a death counter. And I think what has contributed to the use of that is the the speed at which information moves in this day and age. So if you wanted to if you wanted to motivate someone to do something based on fear, you have a greater opportunity now in this day, in this age, to execute upon that than you ever have. You can put something out and peddle fear and cause people to make decisions based on that fear more easily now than ever. My opinion. All right. That doesn't mean that the sickness we've dealt with isn't dangerous. I've held to this. I've held this view since the beginning of the beginning of last year. You can both believe that something is dangerous and not panic. You can do both of those things. The one thing I realize in my own life, in whatever, not just dealing with sickness, is dealing with anything. When I panic, I don't think rationally. When I panic, I don't act rationally. And I don't know what is the root cause of all the panic. I'm not going to tell you it's a grand conspiracy. I always hold to this view. Maybe it is a grand conspiracy. I can't prove that. Maybe I have a bunch of circumstantial evidence that might lean towards a grand conspiracy. But again, this is not something I can prove. So I can think it all day long. I can think there's some grand conspiracy, and I can connect some dots that maybe they connect, maybe they don't, without hard evidence, without some incontrovertible evidence that yes, this is a grand conspiracy, and here's why. I can't say that dogmatically. So the problem is when you state something dogmatically that you can't really prove, I think the issue we then run into is, what about the things that we can prove, the things that we do know that we are not focused on? So today I kind of wanted to go over one of these things because I'm asking myself if the health organizations, whether it be the World Health Organization or the NIH or the CDC, whatever organization it is, if they really seek to help me, if that's really their goal, if that is really their purpose, why is it that this sickness and the death rate associated is the first time that there's this frenzy and there's this panic to solve this issue, when there are issues out there, health issues that are completely and 100% solvable, and they have a huge death rate, but they're not focused on? That's what I have a problem with. That makes me question, well, then what really is your motive? Is your motive really to help me if there's this thing looming in the distance that can actually be solved 100% that you don't focus on? Now this unknown thing that may or may not be solved, you want me to be frantic about. I don't understand the logic in that. Again, I'm not saying there's some grand conspiracy. I'm just saying I don't understand the logic in that. So I want to get to something. I'm going to go kind of loosely go to some articles and just read some things and share my thoughts. All right, so I got a bunch of articles pulled up. The first article is from this site. I don't know if this site is trustworthy or not. It's wvdhhr.org. You know, whatever this is. This may or may not have a legit information, but I also have some websites that I linked from going to the NIH website. So they should, air quotes, be trustworthy. All right. According to the National Institute of Health, obesity and overweight together are the second leading cause of preventable deaths in the United States, close behind tobacco use, which is number 3. An estimated 300,000 deaths per year are due to obesity. Now that's a problem. That's a huge problem. And I don't ever in my lifetime remember the NIH, the CDC, the World Health Organization. I never in my lifetime, I'm 42 years old, remember any of these organizations in a frenzy, in a panic, and peddling fear over obesity. Really, they should. And the reason I say they should is obesity is something that is 100% preventable and avoidable. We know exactly what to do to prevent obesity and to mitigate obesity and to get over obesity. An obese person can 100% take steps to lose weight and remove themselves from that category, but I have never seen a frenzy over obesity. And that makes me think. Now, remember, these deaths that I just read, this is just in the United States alone. So this is not even going over the deaths in other countries. Think about that. 300,000 people per year. Now here's what I think about when I think this. So we know the sickness that's been going on for the past 2 years, one of the hugest comorbidities and one of the biggest contributors to death if a person contracts that disease is obesity. People that are obese are at more risk. Now, when you take that in mind and you think about the number of people that have died from this sickness in the past 2 years, how many of those people were obese, thus meaning those deaths could have 100%, I'm not going to say 100%, let's say 98% been avoided. But yet obesity, the second leading cause of preventable death in the United States. And there's no frenzy over it. Absolutely no frenzy, no concern. Well, I'm not going to say no concern, but the concern is nowhere near the level that it is with this other sickness. And I find that odd. I find that astonishing. Let me see. I'm just gonna. This is from the National Institute of Environmental Health Sciences. You can link this website if you go to the NIH. You can get all of these articles. This is where I got all this stuff from. Obesity means having too much body fat. In the United States and globally, obesity has risen to epidemic levels for adults and children. Now think about that. This is an official website, the National Institute of Environmental Health Sciences. The website is niehs.nih.gov. This is a .gov website. These are statistics and things that they know. Yet I have not seen any panic, any frenzy, any campaigns to combat obesity at the level that you see campaigns surrounding this sickness, this virus that we've dealt with over the past 2 years. Now, should there be a panic? Again, I'm not a fan of panic. Panic doesn't help anyone. Panic doesn't help you, and panic doesn't help the people around you. I don't think there's a need to panic, but the point I'm bringing out is, why is it that there is such a frenzy over something you cannot control? You can't control a virus. So let's get this out the gate. Whether the virus is man-made or not, to this point I'm getting ready to make is irrelevant, right? If it is man-made, yes, we could have avoided all the turmoil and all the deaths that we experienced last year and this year. Let's just say it's naturally occurring. There's many naturally occurring viruses that take many people out yearly. This is the thing. There's nothing you can do about that, right? Yes, there's certain health measures you can take year-round, taking care of yourself, that make the effects of viruses less potent. Your body has a better chance to combat these things. But what I mean is, this is something that's natural and out of our control. Really and truly, obesity, even though it is a natural occurrence, so to speak, it is also something that is 100% preventable, but yet is not focused on. Yet what we do focused on, we're focused on something that we have no control over. I'm not saying you shouldn't give that attention. What I'm saying is you can't panic. This is where I'm at. People die on this planet every year. Nobody's promised to when you're going to live or that you're going to live the next day. None of us know that, right? Anything can take any one of us out. Car accidents, lightning strikes, heart attack, stroke, diabetes. There's a bunch of things, right, that can take us out. But we are in a frenzy over something that cannot be controlled. And there's this obsession among I'm trying to figure out how to word this. There's this obsession in the air quotes health and wellness community. There's this obsession with things that there's no control over. You have no human control over. And an avoidance of things that is 100% preventable. And I don't understand that. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm some kind of super health nut, because I'm not. I'm being completely honest with you. There's definitely things in my diet that I need to change. And I've actually the past week or so, I'm not gonna lie, during last year, the sickness last year and this year when everything was locked down, I kind of fell off from the gym and kind of got off point, and I'm getting myself back where I need to be. But the bottom line is there's things we can do in our diet that can help us physically. There's things we can do physically. We can exercise. We can keep our body physically fit as much as possible. We can do things to take care of our cardiovascular system. These are things that we do have some control over, but these are not the things that are focused on heavily. And it is astonishing to me because I'm reading from this website and I'm like, these are things that these people know. Why are we not focused on these things? All right, get back in there. So it says, it is a complex health issue that likely results from many factors. Although obesity is attributed to poor dietary habits and lack of physical activity, the truth is more complicated because obesity is a metabolic condition, a result of a complex process by which the body converts food into energy. It can also be influenced by chemicals in the environment over which we have limited control, and genetics over which we have no control, right? So they acknowledge there's some things. Now, isn't that interesting? They acknowledge these things we have no control over, and there's no panic about this. But there are things that we definitely, absolutely have control over, and there's no focus on these things. This is very contrary to the panic we've had last year and this year. And that is what is so annoying to me. I am not one of these people that is going to come out here and tell you, oh, the virus isn't real, it's fake. I think that's false information. The virus is very real. Now, again, like I said, whether it was man-made or not to this point and at this time is irrelevant. That's irrelevant. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. That's irrelevant. The thing is, I have no control over whether I come in contact with that virus or not. The only way I can control that is go nowhere and do nothing. This is the problem with that strategy. It was the strategy that was used last year, and it's the strategy that many politicians are calling to be used again. That is not tenable. We cannot stop living because there's a virus out there. There's always viruses out there. And yes, This one may be more dangerous than the others. But the point being is that there's always viruses out there. You cannot escape that. This is part of life, and you cannot stop living because of that. And that's what's annoying. That's what's annoying. That's our solution. Lock yourselves in the house and don't live and don't do anything. That's not tenable, and society can't survive that way. Why I'm so passionate about this and why it's so annoying is, again, there's things we absolutely can control and nobody seems to care about. Why is there not a panic over the fact that obesity is on the rise, especially amongst minors? Why is there not a panic over that, something that can be changed? Why is there not a panic that 300,000 people, an estimated 300,000 people yearly die from obesity? Why was there no death counters on that? I can't tell you what the answer to those questions are. I can make assumptions. I can say that this sickness, this virus, was used as an opportunity, and there's some people that seized on that opportunity. Maybe that's true. Maybe that's not. I do my best not to say things dogmatically. So no one can come back to me and say, hey, you said this dogmatically and that's not true. I'm saying things that are possibilities. These things are possibilities. And if you don't think that that's a possibility, you are very naive, and you need to do just a little bit of research into history. Men are evil. Evil men will do evil things. Evil men who get together will do even more evil things. That's part of history. That's part of life. This is not, again, I say this a lot, and I say this to my children a lot. And when I have conversations with people, I repeat this phrase a lot. There is the world you want, right? In your mind, a utopia. We all love each other. Everything is all good. Nobody's going to do anything bad to anybody else. Then there is the world that is reality. People are evil. People are wicked. Wicked and evil people will do wicked and evil things. You should not be so naive that surprises you. All right. According to the World Health Organization, obesity has nearly tripled since 1975. What has changed since 1975? I'll tell you what's changed. The world entered into a time of prosperity. Now, I'm not going to say it's a time of prosperity that has never been seen. I don't know that, right? I didn't live 2,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago, 4,000 years ago, and there have been times of prosperity that are recorded historically. But all I'm saying is we have entered into a time of prosperity amongst Western nations. Of course, there's more impoverished nations. I know that and I understand that. But I think that has contributed to obesity tripling. Another thing that I think has contributed to this is the technology fields. You have more people in more career fields where they sit behind a desk and there's no physical activity. People are not farming by far and large anymore, right? You have a select group of farmers that provide food for the majority of the planet. But most people are not farming, are not working land, are not doing physical labor. We're not. And I think that is part of what has contributed to obesity tripling. In the US, 42% of adults were considered obese, 2017 and 2018. Now think about that. Think about obesity as a comorbidity, 2017 and 2018, and think about the end of 2019, the beginning of 2020, and this virus. Among major ethnic groups, only non-Hispanic Asian men, 17.4%, and women, 17.2%, had rates significantly lower than the average. Some 18.5% of children and adolescents in the U.S. 2015 to 2016, about 13.7 million were obese. That is an epic problem, a huge problem. Childhood obesity is more common among Hispanics, 25.8%, and non-Hispanic blacks, 22%, than other population groups. Now, you remember when this virus came through, there's people that, oh, I can't even believe I'm going to say this sentence. It's not even common sense, but there was people that were arguing about the virus being somehow an act of white supremacy and an act of racism, while nobody's paying attention to one of the biggest contributing factors of why it impacted minority communities more. Here is your answer right here. Time after time. So I lived in San Antonio last year. I moved there for a short stint. Right, I'm talking, it was like 2 weeks before the lockdowns. It was crazy. Not a good experience. There was an article in the paper, in a local San Antonio paper, about this couple. Both of them died of coronavirus, and they left their young child. Now, I remember when I saw the article, is an Hispanic couple, and I was like, man, this is really sad. Like, this virus is really crazy. When I opened the paper, and this is not, by no means is this a I'm not blasting these people. They lost their lives and it's tragic. When I opened the paper and I saw a picture of the young lady and the young man, they were clearly obese. Like, evidently obese. It was not even a question as soon as I opened it. And I thought to myself, why was this not discussed anywhere in this article? Nowhere in this article did it discuss the fact that both parents were obese. Nowhere in the article did it discuss that you run a high probability of having a great risk to yourself and your life if you are obese and happen to contract this virus. Nowhere in that article was that discussed. To me, that is disgusting. And the reason that is disgusting is there's people out there who see that and they'll be gripped with fear, right? And some people maybe need to be gripped with fear. And there's people that will read that article who are obese, when if that would have been discussed in the article, they could have said, all right, I can do something to mitigate my risk. But because we're not discussing that at all, people are going on with their lives. Now, everybody needs to take personal responsibility for themselves. You can't absolve yourself of personal responsibility. We all know that obesity is a problem. You can deny it. I know there's this idea, this body positivity idea. I don't think we should criticize people who are obese. That's not helpful. But you also shouldn't celebrate obesity. That's not helpful either. Those two things can both be true at the same time. But again, completely avoidable things we're not focused on. And to me, that is a gigantic problem. The health effects from obesity. Obesity can also be a risk factor for serious health problems, including asthma, type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, cardiovascular disease, stroke. All of these things being problems that if you have these issues and you happen to contract this virus, you run a great risk of death. Now, again, when you back that up, understanding that this is 100% avoidable, it is absolutely, positively, supremely annoying that this factor is not discussed at all. It's just constant fear and panic over the virus, constant fear and panic over the death count, and no one is focusing on the things that we can focus on to mitigate that risk. That's annoying. That's annoying. If there's one thing I'm convinced of after everything that happened last year and everything that's happening this year, is if you think Now, I'm not telling you this is some grand conspiracy. That's not what I'm saying. But if you think that these health organizations, if you think that these government agencies really care about you like you should care about yourself, you are naive. People who get power and get control undeserving, all they want is more power and more control. I think it's about time we wake up to this. Um so here's something, another article I pulled up. The National Institute of Diabetes and Digestive and Kidney Diseases defining defining overweight and obesity. A person whose weight is higher than what is considered a normal weight adjusted for height is described as being overweight or have obesity. Now that right there is a little subjective, right? Because there are people who are, I would say, height weight proportionate. I know people who, if you sit them, if you put them on a scale and you look at their weight, you'll go, man. But you look at these people, they're a little more lean, bulkier, mostly muscle, and they're fit and they take care of themselves and they work out. So this is a little bit subjective, slightly. But you get what I'm saying. Fast facts. According to data from the National Health and Nutrition Examination Survey 2013-2014, more than 1 in 3 adults were considered to be overweight. More than 2 in 3 adults were considered to be overweight or have obesity. More than 1 in 3 adults were considered to have obesity. About 1 in 13 adults were considered to have extreme obesity. And about 1 in 6 children and adolescents ages 2 to 19 were considered to have obesity. People, this is an insane problem that is 100% avoidable. Yes, there are some people that have certain illnesses, certain genetic things going on that is going to make it harder for them to lose weight. And I understand that. But that is the exception and not the rule. It is my belief, and I'm not stating this dogmatically, just from a cursory observation, completely anecdotal. It is my belief that most people who are obese, it is 100% avoidable, preventable, and dealable. But this is not focused on. Again, there's people who believe that these organizations, these government entities have their best interest in mind and that they really care about them. I'm here to tell you, these people, they don't really care about you. They have control, they have power. You're never really going to get from someone else what you get from yourself. Again, I always say I'm a believer. My ideas are all informed by the Bible. What I believe is informed by the Bible. That's how many of my beliefs are formed. The Bible says I should love my neighbor as myself. So if I do something, it is my goal. I don't always execute upon this, but it is my goal to help other people. But if you think that that is the guiding principle of government organizations, you are naive. Government organizations are like organisms that grow inorganically, right? They weren't meant to be there. They weren't meant to grow like this. They're not helping you. When a tumor grows, it's not helping you. And to me, that's what government is like. And the fact that people look to government to improve their lives. Now, let me add this caveat. I am very thankful for civil government. I am very thankful for functioning society. But if you think your greatest hope is government, man, you are sadly mistaken and insanely naive. And I hope that we can escape this ideology. Y'all know what it is. Stay frosty, people.